Well everyone, the iPhone 14 has been out for so much time now, and I wanted to go and hit on how this phone has been holding up in the later part of 2024. Now, some big things to keep in mind. Number one, although this phone is still, being sold by Apple, brand new in the brand new market, it is still an interesting device that I do want to hit on because it's a beautiful phone. I love it a lot. There's been a couple things that have changed with it since the mid-year review I've done of this thing. One, we got a new iOS version, and we got some new iPhones as well, and this iPhone has gone down in the used market just a little bit, which I think is, or in the brand new market too, which is really cool. Now, to hit on the outside real quick, this phone is still giving you a very beautiful display. It's a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. It doesn't get the brightness, brightest, and it only has a 60 Hz panel, but I still think it's a good looking panel nonetheless, and I definitely do like having phones like this because they look and perform so good still, but they're not 120 Hz, they're just 60 Hz, so that is kind of a downside. Lining out the bottom, which isn't the best thing ever, but still kind of works. You're getting your standard glass back, dual camera setup on the back with 4K at 60 on the front and the back as well. And definitely when I'm looking at a phone like this, I genuinely do think it's still a very good looking, phone. It feels very good in the hand, and if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, this thing still is up there with being a very good performing device. Is it perfect? No, but it's still a good phone nonetheless, and I definitely do like having phones like this when it comes down to it. Now, beyond that, iOS 18 has been a pretty good version of software so far. It's, hit on battery life a lot. It's not been perfect by any means, but I definitely do think having a phone like this on this type of version of software and this performance has been pretty solid. With phones like, the iPhone, 14, for example, although with the iPhone 15 and 16 they changed the body and brought USB Type-C, I still think a phone like this has been giving me a pretty good experience too, and I do think that's a pretty important thing to keep in mind here. On top of that, when it comes down to iOS 18 and in detail, I haven't really had too many issues with my battery life. I feel like my battery life has been pretty good on this phone as well, which is something that's been really cool. Not having to worry about my battery life being weird and finicky and all that. I think that was a very important thing, and I feel like that's been improved now quite a bit. And I would say on top of that, definitely with something like the iPhone 15s, although they brought frosted glass backs and everything, and now that the iPhone 16s are out and we're getting a way better performing device in almost every single way, I still think the iPhone 14s have held up fairly well compared to it. And I do think that in and of itself is another very important thing. If you're going to go through and pick up one of those types of devices, I do think it's really important to have a phone like the iPhone, 14, because you're still getting a device that holds up very, very well from a performance standpoint, from a build quality standpoint. And like I said before, although it's not perfect, I still think Apple did a pretty good job with the iPhone 14. And I think this phone is still completely worth buying in in the later part of 2024. There really isn't anywhere that I look at this phone and I think it's a terrible deal or a bad deal or anything like that. And I genuinely do think in a majority of ways, Apple did a good job with this phone. Like I said, it's not perfect by any means, and there could have been better improvements here and there, but I think Apple did a good job with it, and I generally do think it's still worth buying in a majority of ways. So in terms of that, I think that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.